Hi guys and welcome back to Tommy's Starcraft. This is your host Tommy with another Starcraft Remastered replay for you guys, and a great engagement once again between two pro-Korean Starcraft players. Let me just start by introducing the players to you guys. In the lower left in the blue it is Sharp with his AK Noin Sung, and in the upper right in the white it is BISU, of course, playing as the Protoss here. So a very strongly macro orientated game here for you guys, as you can see from the title. A very long game. Protoss versus Terran indeed. As a Terran, of course, against the Protoss you really want to go mass mech factories, of course, with vultures, Goliaths and tanks. But then again, also as a Terran you might go for a fast attack here with marines, with medics, so everything is possible. For BISU the same, he might go for a strangely odd building in the middle of the map for a pylon with gateways for a rush, but no, he's actually deciding here to build a pylon in his main. So this indicates to us that he's actually going for a normal opening, even though he is known to rush his opponents very fast with some cheesy plays. But no, he's actually going for a normal opening, like we see, a pylon and a gateway here. And the same can be said for C. As he's going for his first supply depot, he might go for a barracks here really soon, or maybe a fast expansion. Let's just see his option. No, he's actually going for a barracks, so pretty standard gameplay here for both players. The map they're playing on is called Circuit Breakers, very nice map. So yeah, like I told you guys, pretty standard. BISU also opening up here with his gas, one gateway, both players at 12 workers. Pretty good wall in here, almost wall in here with this barracks. Of course you guys know that Terrans can move up this barracks. They can lift it up just to allow any units movement in and out. And slowly but steadily I see that Sharp is, C is saving up for a expansion, of course. He's also walling in here this entrance with a supply depot, as BISU sends out his first probe here on the map, and building, of course, this pylon here to secure a little bit the position of his expansion. And at the same time he's moving out with his probe just to see where exactly his opponent is spawning. Of course there are 4 spawning positions here on this map, so a fast expansion build is of course indicated. You can't really rush. Of course you could go for a lucky push in the middle, like I told you. As a Protoss, a lot of Protoss really like to cheese Terrans, as the Zealot in the beginning of the game is very strong, especially against those marines. So both players are just searching for each other right now. C is also opening up here with his refinery. And right now, as the probe has passed the SCV, BISU should know exactly where his opponent is. But he starts to change his direction, pretty odd. I guess he thinks that C is in the lower right, but unlucky for him, he's actually in the lower left. C also securing here his expansion with a bunker. Let's have a look at BISU's base. Cybernetics core, of course, with that range for the Dragoons is being built. Dragoons, of course, very good against Marines in the beginning of the game. If you micro them correctly, you can really outtake so many Marines. First Dragoon is out on the map. Let's just have a look. Is he going to be able to kill this SCV? It just scares him away, and BISU, of course, now knowing that C is in the lower left, his probe is making his way towards this. He might even do a little block here. No, even attacking this SCV. The SCV in a little bit of trouble, might get taken out here. And indeed this probe gets the first kill, so small advantage here for BISU as he gets that first kill. As soon as range will be upgraded, of course, BISU is going to attack this bunker. Let's just have a look pretty soon. Of course, if 2 Dragoons attack this bunkers, 2 SCVs will have to repair just in order to keep it up going. And we have 24 workers here for BISU, 24 for C, but a small advantage here for C, as he already has his expansion up and going. He really needs to pull those SCVs as fast as possible, and this is exactly what I told you guys. 2 SCVs will of course repair this bunker, and he should be fine against these 2 Dragoons. And of course, as soon as the siege tank will come out, he is going to be able to fend this first aggression off. He even sends his 3rd SCV as he expects another Dragoon. So perhaps a small advantage here for C, as his expansion is faster up than BISU's expansion. And C is already at 28 workers. He holds this position really nice. More and more dragoons are being sent out here by BISU on the map. And also robotics facility base, so he could transition into some reaver drops here. Of course, reavers very strong against the Terran, especially if you micro them correctly. If your zealots are in the front, reavers will of course be the one who deal the real damage here. More and more dragoons are joining in here the fight, but C is ready with 3 SCVs. He needs to pull really soon another SCVs, as there are 4 dragoons here. So really nicely done here by him, great reaction. And let's just have a look where exactly that tank is. The siege tank is of course being researched, and as soon as this tank is going to siege up, nicely hidden here by C, BISU will of course micro his dragoon very fast out of this. So pretty standard gameplay here by both players, like I told you. Now the splash damage comes in. BISU of course really nice on his micro. He's trying to do as much economic damage as possible with those repairs. Of course he's stealing a little bit of minerals here for him. He even has to reposition here his tank. But in the end he holds really well. And he's already preparing his first vultures to move out on the map. There is an observatory bay here, so the first observer is going to pop out here for BISU. Of course, observer very much needed against the Terran. The Terran really likes to move out with his vultures, just place mines all over the map. Defensive mine, but at the same time you need to be very careful not to move your units, your army into those mines, as they deal so much splash damage. At the same time, vulture very fast unit, very good at exploring. And also very good at killing probes. This expansion here, for example, is not really guarded very well. Only 2 dragoons here. Finally some defensive pylons are coming up. In comes the vultures. Even placing mines here, so very aggressive gameplay here by C. Good splash damage here from those mines. BISU has to be careful. He's microing it really well, but he did lose 2 dragoons here, and he even might lose a probe or 2. So nice aggressive play here by C. Even goes for more probes. 3 probes once again are being killed. And finally BISU comes in and fends this aggression off, but he did suffer a lot. Look at that, he's at only 32 workers versus the 42 of C. So a small advantage here for C. C dealing some economic damage, killing some dragoons. Really nice gameplay here by him. His 3rd expansion is also coming up. He's trying to be as aggressive as possible, but this BISU nice reacting here with his observers. Also very nice walling here by BISU with those 2 dragoons and those pylons. Let's just have a look at his main. He's hiding a Stargate, which probably will indicate to us that he is going into an arbiter play. It might even be carriers, you never know at BISU. BISU really likes to play carriers against Terran, but of course arbiters very strong, thanks to their recall ability and also to their stasis field. Stasis field very good against tanks and even vultures. Goliaths perhaps later in the game. C is building more and more factories. So this is what I told you guys. A lot of Terrans really like to go mass mech play against a Protoss. They really like to go mass tanks, mass Goliaths with vultures. So pretty standard stuff here by them. BISU also perhaps preparing to secure his expansion here at the 12 o'clock position. Only gateways for him in the main, as we see. Let's just have a look at this. Another Stargate and a fleet beacon indeed. So BISU wishes to go for carriers. He's only having dragoons, no zealots at all. Perhaps he is going to build some zealots. Indeed, he is going for some zealots just to soak up those mines perhaps. But at the same time goes actually for carriers here. Really nice stuff here by him as we close in at the 10 minute mark. Carriers very strong, but then again Terran has a good counter against those carriers. It is of course Goliaths, and C probably did scan the main of BISU as he is immediately going for Goliaths. 0-0 upgrades for them. Tanks also 0-0. Things are settling down as both players decide to perhaps secure another expansion or 2. Both players add a 3 base. Here's even a nicely hidden base here for C, which he very likely is going to use here at the 6 o'clock position. A nice map control here for C. He is placing mines all over the map. Of course his vultures are very fast. They could just give him vision all over the place. A nice shuttle here with zealots, really interesting here for BISU. So no reavers, just a shuttle with zealots. Of course, if these siege tanks are sieging up, those zealots could be dropped up on them, dealing massive splash damage. Of course, you can also drop zealots on mines, as the mines will attack the own forces of the Terran, so C has to be very careful here. Nice turret here being placed, of course, to fend off any Dark Templar aggression. These turrets are a detector, of course. And we also see, of course, BISU expanding here. So both players pretty balanced here. Perhaps BISU will try to do some damage here with his shuttle, but those Goliaths are going straight towards it. And these Zealots are sadly in trouble for him. They will very likely get taken out. Good micro here with this Goliath. This Goliath needs some repair pretty soon. So nice win here for C. First carriers are also out on the map, but it's just 2 of them, as he keeps producing here from 2 Stargates more and more carriers. Let's just see the follow-up here. BISU needs, of course, to be very careful with his carriers, as they are a little bit exposed, but I don't think that the Terran has a starport. Oh, indeed he does have a starport with a science facility, so he probably will go into some science vessels. Of course, science vessel very good with that EMP shockwave. So the first carriers are out on the map. He's even going to try for an aggression here. There is a turret here. Needs to be careful, not that many interceptors are in those carriers. But the first turret is being taken out. There are some Goliaths here out on the map. So he really much needs to react pretty soon, just to kill as many interceptors as possible. Some SCVs are falling, of course, so a nice job here by BISU. He even comes in with his shuttle. He's going to drop indeed some Zealots here. Does he have a Reaver in that shuttle or anything? No, it's just some Zealots in, just to soak up the first damage from those Goliaths, so that the carriers deal as much economic damage as possible against C. Even might take out a siege tank or 2. No, sadly for BISU. His interceptors have been, a lot of interceptors have been killed, of course, but he did a good job. He did kill a turret, he did kill some SCVs, and C immediately reacting as he builds more and more turrets. So of course he knows now what he's against, so more and more carriers will follow here, and he will of course go mass anti-air. Nice vulture run by here, but it's being fended off, of course, by these Dragoons. So the Dragoons are doing a great job defending this base here. BISU also securing it with some cannons. As let's just see what the follow-up is going to be here. I still don't think that BISU is going for an Arbiter. It could be an option, but no, instead he just keeps on his carriers. Lots of turrets here, so BISU needs to be careful. Goliaths are of course coming back here to defend this base. Let's have a look at the upgrades, 1-1 upgrades here for C. As BISU once again is moving on with his shuttle, only Zealots in his shuttle. His upgrades are 0 to 1. And this is really nicely protected here by C, and mass turrets here for him. So BISU has of course to change his position with his carriers. Slowly but steadily BISU is moving out on the map. He's starting to clean as many mines as possible. Takes a little bit of damage, but that's okay. C expanding here at this position, but BISU might just come in and just punish him for that. Very balanced, of course. C at 73 workers, 70 for BISU. We're closing at a 50-minute mark. But yeah, C just follows up here this movement out from BISU and just moving here in the 6 o'clock position with all of his army. BISU of course decides to change his mind. He's moving once again in the middle of the map. So it's just a waiting game here for both players. C very defensive, but at the same time he's now moving out. This science vessel of course very good that it can detect invisible units, so the observer is of course being detected. We have the first engagement here once again for BISU. A lot of anti-air here for C. C not deciding to move back. Look at the minimap, nice, he's just going forward, so he might go turn into a base trade here for these players. C just keeps moving forward and forward. He's going to kill of course these probes. So very strong engagement here. C just goes straight for BISU's expansion and perhaps for his main base. Carrier is very strong of course. BISU holds his Dragoons back as he just allows those zealots in the front end with the carriers dealing so much damage here. Of course this expansion will fall. Let's just have a look at the follow-up here for C. C of course very strong with those siege tanks, and they're backed up by those collides. So they're just trading expansions right now. No army engagement between these two, just economic damage as much as possible. 6 carriers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carriers indeed for BISU. But will he be able to kill this aggression? Here he's slowly moving forward here, so a lot of production buildings will be hurt here for BISU. He needs to be careful. Army wise we have still a very balanced game. 160 for BISU, 142 here for C, but as soon as the carriers will follow here at the turrets, a lot of turrets will take out of course so many interceptors. So BISU needs to be very careful. He needs to take out those turrets as fast as possible. Look at that, so many interceptors have been killed already. So BISU in a little bit of trouble. He needs to back up. The reinforcements are coming in here for C. A nice flank here by C. He might take out so many carriers here. Let's just have a look. One carrier already taking so much damage. The second carrier, no, not being targeted. He's going straight for those interceptors. So good job here for him fending this attack off, and he even leaves those tanks here in the front just to kill as many reinforcements as possible. But as soon as these carriers will pop out, he needs to be very careful. BISU decides to go home and defend his base. It's just tanks here, not being backed up by Goliaths. Now finally the Goliaths are also moving out. The C needs to be a little bit faster now. Some turrets even are being built here. So C is of course going to reposition his units. We even have a Dark Templar here dealing damage. In comes the carriers from the back. So really great stuff here by both players. But BISU just positions his carriers this way so they don't take a lot of damage here. Carriers of course faster than Goliaths, and Goliaths need to back up down as they're being attacked by those Dragoons. So nice trade here by both players. Both players are killing those two expansions here. This expansion has fallen, this one is being rebuilt. But I think it's still very balanced. 46 against 44 workers here. Of course BISU did lose a lot of interceptors, but at the same time he holds this position. So C deciding, perhaps if you would decide to leave some Goliaths here with these tanks, it would have been better. But I'm sure he knows best, and he's at least top 5 Terran players. Let's have a look at his upgrades. 1 to 2 upgrades here for him. BISU sitting at also 1 armor upgrade and 1 attack upgrade. As once again things are settling down. BISU however really nice here, hides his expansion, and the expansion that was supposed to be C's expansion is now of course taken by BISU. So a nice macro oriented game here by BISU as he's expanding all over the map. C just decides that he had enough of it. He's moving out. His army is stronger. He has 161 supply versus 131. Those Goliaths should be great against these carriers. Of course the Goliaths are being backed up by only 2 tanks. There's mass Goliaths here, so he should be fine against the carriers. Even going for that one carrier might even take one. Yes, he takes one down. Siege tanks are of course sieging up here in the back. They deal massive splash damage, but at the same time the Goliaths are going straight for those interceptors. BISU needs to back down. He's taking lots and lots of damage, so BISU in a little bit of trouble here. Upgraded Goliaths of course a little bit good against the Dragoons as well, but of course the very good anti-air. Now the problem is, does he have a detection here against these TTs? It doesn't look like it. Look at that, one Goliath after the other is falling here. So C of course losing that science vessel. He has to scan just to kill those DTs. BISU at the same time is moving out on the map. He's just going to ignore this position as C also moves out here with his siege tanks. There's another DT here out, so a lot of scan needs to be used. Nicely scanned here by C. Good high ground here for C as he's going straight for those probes perhaps. So let's just have a look at the follow-up here. Dragoons are coming in and the carriers are going to move back. It's just 5 carriers now as these Goliaths have dealt indeed a lot of damage here. Nice mine placement, but all of a sudden C is actually moving out here back on the map. I don't see why he took this decision. He perhaps wishes to take out this expansion here at the 3 o'clock position. There's only 4 Goliaths now here facing 5 carriers, so a little bit of balance of course. So perhaps a small mistake here by C, abandoning this position here. Just move straight out in the middle of the map. Perhaps you wish to kill some reinforcements here by BISU. But sadly for him, he's going to lose this position here. But he's regrouping at the middle of the map with his reinforcements. Only one tank is being left with lots of Goliaths. So of course Goliath's a good counter against these carriers. So things look pretty good for C. He might even take out this carrier in a bad position, already being hurt. Look at that, he might even take no. Such a good micro here by BISU. But at the same time he's going to lose so many interceptors right now. As C is moving out on the map indeed. He has some reinforcements here just to hold that position. Only one tank here for him. There are some cannons here. BISU sees everything with that observer. Of course there's no science vessel here left for C. C keeps moving forward. His Goliaths are very tanky. BISU comes in from the back, goes straight for the tank. And Dragoons are also coming in now. So Dragoons and carriers are being sadly untouched here for C. So C is trying to do his best, but of course the Dragoons are very good against those Goliaths. So he has to sadly retreat. BISU doing a great job here, fending this attack off, and at the same time BISU hides his carriers in the back, and more Goliaths are being hurt now. They might get intercepted of course here by BISU's carriers. Really great stuff here by him. What was an advantage for C has turned out a really good advantage here for BISU. BISU just hides his carriers back and forward, and now even changes his position. He might go for this attack here just to defend here his base. So he leaves his Dragoons in the middle of the map and also moves out with his carriers here. Really great stuff here by him. Let's just have a look at the forces here for C. He's regrouping with tanks and Goliaths, but he needs to be very careful, as BISU is splitting up his troops. His 6 carriers are moving in here just to fend off this attack. And at the same time the Dragoons of course are in the middle of the pack. But look at that, we have a great engagement here with those Vultures. Vultures of course very good against very fast, and they even killed so many probes. Look at that, BISU dropping at 34 probes all of a sudden. So really good game here by C. And this is actually the only position, and this one is the position where BISU is mining. C mining from this position and this position. This already has been mined out of course. He might do some long distance mining here. It's still anyone's game, very close game, a very strong game here between these two pro players. We have passed the 20-minute mark, and I still don't know who is going to win this game. Really nice gameplay here by both players, but if BISU can hide his carriers here in the upper ground, he might have an advantage. Look at this carrier even surviving here. Very lucky here for BISU. Let's just have a look at the follow-up. Of course the army of BISU needs to be concentrated together. BISU decides to defend this base here, decides to go for an economic advantage, but he's at only 40 SCVs versus 40 pros versus those 54 SCVs. But we saw that not all of those SCVs were mining. So C in a little bit of trouble. BISU just checks all of those expansion. C is trying to do as much economic damage as possible with his vultures, but the expansion is nicely being hidden here. Nicely defended. Sorry, there's even an Archon coming in here. BISU stays in the middle of the map, tries to have as much map control as possible, has his observer of course to detect those mines. And he's lucky for him, look at that, his Nexus have survived here, so he can of course mine, keep on mining this position. He's even going to build more and more probes. So 3 bases here for BISU against only 2 bases from C. C in a little bit of trouble. The map is being controlled by BISU. BISU slowly but steadily moves out forward on the map. Only 1-1 upgrades here. The Goliaths are already 3-3. We might have a first engagement. So luckily for BISU, he kills that science vessel. The science vessel very important. Because of that, EMP can do so much damage against the shields. And we have another engagement here in the 6 o'clock position. BISU is moving forward with some Dragoons, with those carriers of course. Carriers immediately taking care of those tanks and dealing as much damage as possible. Some Goliaths will be targeted now, but BISU needs to be careful. Those siege tanks in the upper ground are dealing mass splash damage towards those Dragoons. He just goes straight for the expansion. he wishes to deny as much mining time as possible. So really nice job here by BISU, but he's getting flanked, so of course some dragoons will fall here, but the job has been done with lots of losses of course for BISU, but he did deny that expansion. However, right now he has to move out, he has to retreat a little bit. Of course he's going to kill a Goliath or two. At the same time he's transitioning into some zealots now with some dragoons just to counter these Goliaths, and of course he's going straight for those siege tanks with those carriers. So this is the plan. Of course the zealots and the dragoons and the archons are going to take care of those Goliaths, as the carriers are taking care of those siege tanks. So really good job here for him. He still needs to be careful, there's so many Goliaths still out on the map, but those carriers are nicely being hidden in the back. He's probably going to have to kill these tanks as fast as possible. This ramp is good here for BISU, he can kite back and forward. There are still some cannons here dealing damage towards those Goliaths, and that is indeed a GG. Sadly for C, he did lose this expansion here. For him, he tried to rebuild it, but BISU just doing such a great job here with his carriers. Really nicely done here by him, as he transitioned into zealots with dragoons and just left here these 7 carriers nicely hidden, nicely micro. We really have to be careful with those carriers against Goliaths, as they take so much damage against it. So great macro oriented game, as we have passed the 26-minute mark. I really hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I did. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.